How do you use, I guess, pretend that you have had the wall for a while. Technically you have, but not the new version. So how do you use the wall?
Well, I've used the wall in a couple of different ways. I've used it for analyticals with the different types of storyboard items that were on it. You adjust it to what the storyboard says and use that as an enhancement more than an actual final product. Then I also utilize the illustrations. The illustrations, I think, are key for a lot of different things that you can use. You have kids, I think it's important for kids to look for more than just the surface. And so I think in every illustration there's a key point on why everything is in the illustration. So what you do is you want the kids to take a look at it and interpret what they think is meant by the illustration. So if I could focus on one, if you're taking a look at the signing of the documents, that is a really key illustration to see the involvement, what people are doing, who is where, what prominent role do they have, why are they at the center, why are they at the forefront, why do they picture this person signing at this particular point. Those are the kind of things you want kids to analyze and think out. And you can do that with the illustrations, to say what is the meaning behind it, what kind of impression do you get of the people in the illustration, and why do you get it, and what was the artist attempting to accomplish in that. And I think that's a key element for analytical abilities for students that really is rarely done.
Great. Do you have a personal, heartwarming story of a success with a student that you can remember?
You know, I think each person finds their own meaning, because what we do is we've actually taken the students out and had them look through all the illustrations and find which they think are the three most critical or the three most important to them. And then what they do is they evaluate why, first of all, what the illustration is and why it was so important to them. And what you find is that students focus on different things. You know, so each student has their own individual idea. I don't want to say an agenda, because it's not, they don't have agendas when they're kids. So what it really comes down to is what has had a tremendous impact. So we've had students that focused on previous illustration, that, you know, on the ability of what the Star-Spangled Banner means, Old Glory means, because they've had relatives who have served in the military and are now serving overseas. And so that seems to have more meaning to them. Whereas you have other students that focus on fundamental documents, because fundamental documents are about rights that they feel that they have, or that they feel are sometimes things that they take for granted. So it depends on the student, and sometimes the student really catches your eye in terms of what they want to express. And I think that's the key thing. You learn a lot about your students that way too.
There is one image that's consistent with the old Freedom Gallery and the new one, and that's the writing of the Declaration. And I remember vividly when you used the example of one student's essay, and you asked him to write about what he saw, and he wrote about the crumpled paper on the ground. You remember that?
Yeah, you know, and I was going to go to that too.
Can you use that one again?
You know, and I can't remember what I exactly said then, but I think the idea of seeing how the Declaration of Independence is put together, that you see the crumpled pieces of paper on the floor, really shows that this was not an immediate impact. This was not something that we automatically came to a conclusion that this is what should be done. That this was carefully phrased for a reason. That there are certain things that are written very haphazardly and you have problems with it. For example, the Articles of Confederation were done in an emergency fashion and were very unsatisfying to the nation as a whole. Whereas the Declaration of Independence has long-lasting impact. Why? Because it was well thought out. One of the rare stories that people don't know is that John Adams wrote the original Declaration of Independence. He wrote that about a month earlier, but it was so bad, even John Adams realized it was so bad, that he really deferred to Jefferson for a lot of political reasons, but also for reasons that were very important in terms of style. And to see the illustration, and one of my students caught on to this, that the fact that you have so many different versions, that they crumpled up and said, no, that doesn't work, and how they had to put this all together had a tremendous impact. That's why the Declaration of Independence is considered one of the top founding documents. And I think it's amazing in and to notice that when Lincoln refers to 70 years ago, he's not referring to the Constitution, but the principles in the Declaration. And that's a key element that I think a lot of kids, well, in our classes, we talk about. And then what does he consider to be more important and why? And you see the different variations that come into place. And with those bright minds, the people involved in writing of the Declaration, that they came to a consensus and really felt that what they were really trying initially may not have worked, and now they've kind of discovered what will work and what is really a great fundamental document.
Great. Thanks, Rick. I guess in the end, as you see the wall hanging there, do you find it to be a good teaching tool with some good muscle?
Well, you know, I've noticed that teachers have noticed it and students have noticed it. It's only been up in our room, on our wall. You know, the new version has only been up on the wall for 2 days. And I've heard comments every time I go by it. So every time I've passed teachers who have noticed it for the first time and just were amazed at how great it was. And then you also have students that say, wow, that's really neat. They take notice of it. And I was out in the hallway today, I was reviewing with some of my kids for one class, and other students were in the hallways for who knows what, but they were out in the hallway looking at the display. So it wasn't, you know, they were maybe not where they should be, but in the sense they were where they should be as well, because they were studying what they should.
I think we got it.
Okay. I know how to